মাইক্রোফোন ঠিক আছে? We may vote. Someone is against? No objections, no abstentions. It was approved. We can go now to the point 3. Election of the President of the 147th Assembly. The 147th Assembly will begin at 11 this morning, and we need to elect the President of the session. And I recognize that the Speaker of Portugal raised the floor. So, Presidente, é que é estranho, estou a dar a palavra ao meu Presidente.
Mr. Speaker, you have the floor, please.
Não estamos a conseguir ouvir, Sr. Presidente.
We can't hear you, sir.
Okay. Muito bom dia, Sr. Presidente.
Good morning, Mr. President, Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, speakers of Parliament, dear colleagues. I would like, and I have the honor to propose on behalf of the Portuguese delegation that this 147th IPU Assembly be chaired by Her Excellency, the Speaker of the Angolan National Assembly, Carolina Cerqueira, Mrs. Carolina Cerqueira. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And also Mozambique wants to, I see Mozambique. Please, Mr. Member of Parliament. Good morning, Mr. President, Secretary General of IPU. I also greet all speakers from our parliaments and to all participants in this event. I ask the floor to, with all my heart, my soul, all my strength, to support unconditionally, to second unconditionally the proposal made by the honourable parliamentary delegation from Portugal, so that we elect the Speaker of the Angolan National Assembly, Chair of this 147th General Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Otherwise, we would be breaking tradition, and I don't think that there is no reason for that. So I second the motion. Thank you, Mr. Vice Speaker, Deputy Speaker of the Mozambican National Assembly.
Also, the floor, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس وصباح الخير على الجميع وأنا أيضا
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. In turn, I would like to support the candidature of Carolina Cerqueira, the Speaker of the National Assembly, as President of the 147th Assembly.
And is supporting the proposal of Portugal. So, I don't identify any other requests. I will give the floor to the President of the National Assembly of Angola para saber, Sra. Presidente, se aceita a incumbência.
I ask you if you accept this appointment, this election, because without your acceptance, we could not vote. Mr. President of the IPU, Mr. Secretary General, dear delegates, I would like to thank you, on behalf of the National Assembly of Angola for having chosen us to chair this important IPU Assembly. So I am very pleased to accept, very happy to accept, and I thank the support given by our brother country, by Mozambique, and by Bahrain, where we were last week, by the way. And of course, the proposal initially made by the Speaker of the Portuguese Parliament. Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Sr. Presidente. Podemos considerar.
Thank you, Madam. So we now
approve the proposal of Portugal, seconded by Mozambique and Bahrain, to elect the Speaker of the National Assembly of Angola as President of the Assembly. May we approve it by acclamation, please? Thank you. So at 11, we will begin our assembly, and then Madam Speaker will have the place to share the works. And now is the item 4, report of the President. Allow me to do it in a very short way, and then on the same moment I will talk about the report of the meeting of the Executive Committee that happened the last 2 days here in Angola. I'm trying to identify if I go to the podium, maybe from there is easier. You have the presentation? Okay.
Tem que ir dizendo next slide, porque não há remote control.
Mas pode... tem que dizer.
Não posso ser eu.
Okay. Dear colleagues, I try to do it a very short way, just to say, it is my duty of all the presidents of IPU in our first session to present the report of activities during the last 6 months between assemblies. This is what I am doing here. The first worry during these last 6 months was, again, reinforcing the visibility of IPU. I will ask if the presentation can be on the screen, please. But I will begin, okay, you can go ahead. Now, this is not my presentation, please. It's a presentation of the Secretary-General. Esta não é a minha apresentação, se puderem...
This is not my presentation.
Portanto, introduzindo aquilo que...
In the meantime, I'm going to tell you what I have in my presentation. First, to strengthen visibility. Strengthening visibility stems from an awareness that the IPU...
I understood, I think many of you will agree, that IPU, the largest parliamentary organizations, global one, with 180 countries associated, with more than 100 years of history, don't have the visibility and it is not recognized as it should be by the society. I talked with some days ago here, already in Luanda, and a colleague, parliamentarian, told me something that happened with me before. Before I became member of parliament, I didn't know that IPU exists. And we may felt it everywhere. So, reinforcing the visibility. How we may do it? Of course, be everywhere, visiting so much parliaments as possible, accept invitations, otherwise we'll not knock the door and go ahead. Be present also in all seminars, initiatives of IPU, and accept the invitations to participate in seminars and initiatives of other organizations. This way, because during this visit there are a lot of interviews in all kinds of media, TV, radio, newspapers. We have the news on the social media, and we reinforce the name of IPU. IPU, IPU, IPU. Because otherwise, we work hard, we have a long history, we believe in our organization, but the impact of our measures, of our decisions are not what we wish. Reinforcing the visibility. Second, reinforcing the universality of IPU. You know, United Nations recognize 193 countries associated. When IPU had just 100 countries, it's easy, increase to grow from 100 to 110 to 120. But now when we are reaching the top, we need to fish one by one the few parliaments that are not members of IPU. In Bahrain, we came back to the IPU of Liberia. Now, here, we are approved the admission of Bahamas. And so we will reach 180 countries in our organization. We are just missing 13 to achieve 100%. We will continue our work. And also because of this, I went with Secretary General, with the President of the Forum of Young Parliamentarians, and with the President of the Forum of Women Parliamentarians to New York and to Washington, try to convince the United States of America to join us again. It's time to have also the United States inside IPU. Before the last elections to the Congress, it was, we have hope, because the Speaker Pelosi was ready to accept it, but then, with the change of the Congress, we need to begin the process from zero. But we will continue our efforts because it's important to have the United States came back, as it is important to have Bahamas or Liberia. We need to try to fish, to catch one by one the countries that are not members of IPU. And finally, the third activity is to reinforce the good governance of the organization. That's why we decided to open the office in Uruguay, and is ready to be operational. It was inaugurated, the building itself. Now we have just finished the agreement with the Uruguay Parliament about the staff, and it's done. We try to approve the new strategy, the strategy of communication, but also to go ahead with other measures about the digital transformation of the IPU, measures related to the amplification of parliamentary engagement with religion and belief to promote peace. We initiate the process of amendments to the IPU statutes and rules, and we go ahead with the strengthening cooperation with the Association of Secretary Generals of Parliaments. So, the good governance needs to be aware also in our work. Allow me to say something about the amendments, because it needs to be transparent. And the ExCom here in Luanda decided three things. First of all, extend the time to receive proposals of amendments until the end of November. So, if you, dear colleagues, if your geopolitical groups did not send any kind of amendments and wish to do it, you will have one more month to do it. One month to do it until the end of November. Second, to create a working group or a subcommittee. For me, the name it is not relevant. What is relevant is, from the ExCom, we will have a group with representatives of all geopolitical groups that will study all the amendments and try to get a consensual proposal to send it to the Governing Council to vote. What we decide also is that we should have a draft proposal before the Assembly in Geneva in March. This way, all the geopolitical groups can analyze, discuss it, and then came back with suggestions to the group, and they will finish the work before summer. And in next October, in our Assembly of next October and Governing Council, we will approve it. I explain this because it is a very clear roadmap, and so everyone will have the same information to participate in our organization. Dear colleagues, I really believe that in these 6 months, with presence in more than 90 meetings. You can't imagine, sometimes it is not easy, but I really believe when we accept a job, we need to be available 150%. This is what I tried to do during the last 6 months, to be with all of you everywhere, all the time. Now, it will be time to the next president that we will elect in the end of this week. And I believe that, because I really believe in women in Africa, that they will have, the next president will have the energy to go ahead with this organization. Thank you. Dear colleagues, of course, if someone wishes to ask any kind of question, feel free or comment. I need to be available to answer. This is my obligation. Otherwise, we go to the other point of our agenda. But I don't want to go without to give the opportunity to receive any kind of comments, suggestions, critics, because no one is perfect. Ireland.
Mr. President, can I just thank you for your stewardship of the IPU, of your tenure as President. Raising the visibility that you have done in many parts of the world has posed to be a challenge, but a challenge you've overcome with distinction, and I say to you, many thanks. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Denmark. I'm sorry, sometimes it is not easy from here to identify.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I absolutely don't want to criticize. We are very happy with the period we have had with you as a president, so we want to thank you. But I have one single question. Last meeting we had in Bahrain, we had an incident because there was planned some meetings with people from the Human Rights Watch. But in the last moment, they were not allowed to go to Bahrain. Their visa was taken back. And it is very unfortunate because when we are gathering here, we are going to gather and meet with all, and we have to discuss all. And of course, Human Rights Watch is a very important organization when we are talking about human rights. So therefore, I just want to hear if there has been any follow-up on that matter. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the conditions, and many of you I met in the bilateral meetings, and when we are talking about organize something of IPU in one country, I always said that we have just one essential condition, that the host country needs to give visas to all delegations that wish to participate in our assemblies. This is the condition we put on the first condition. And then we receive the compromise or we change. I remember once we have prepared to go to England for one assembly of IPU, for one of the jubilees of His Majesty the Queen. And on the last moment we discovered that one delegation will not have the visa and we need to change because of that. And so we have also from authorities of Bahrain the compromise that they will give visas to every delegation to participate. After the beginning of our work, we understood that one observer, not member of organization, but one observer did not receive the visas after very unjust critics and words against the country that are hosting. And allow me to say, also this kind of comments they did also was against all of us, because the decision to go to Bahrain is not a decision of the Secretary General or of the President. It was approved unanimously inside our governing council. So the critics is not to the government of Bahrain. It's a direct critics to each one of you that decide to go there, and then they said we are, I try not to be very strong with the word, but we are not smart 11, we are not smart when we decided to go there. And so, but of course, in also this case, we took good note and we transmitted officially to the authorities of Bahrain that this is not what we have in our compromise. But after it, the session was already began, because one thing is when we know in advance a problem and we try to solve it, otherwise we may change the place. But in the middle of the process, after the beginning of the assembly, it is not possible to ask to 1,500 delegates to take the plane and to go to the neighbor country to begin the meeting because we needed to go to another country. But we express our worry officially with authorities of Bahrain. I understand that Bahrain wishes to raise the floor. I see the red line, that's why.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. سيد الرئيس ما ذكرت.
Sir, Mr. President. President, you gave reasons for the withdrawal of the visa given to a person for a Human Rights Watch. This is an organization that published a press release which was very critical about Bahrain, and we cannot tolerate such attacks against Bahrain. We cannot condone criticism that would undermine the reputation of Bahrain nationally or internationally. I would like to thank the Secretary General and the President who agreed on all the procedure, and we made all efforts possible to ensure that all members of delegations would be able to come to Bahrain. We have no objection whatsoever to any delegations, even that delegation, but they acted wrongly. That is why we withdrew their visa. Thank you.
Thank you. Gambia, where is... Gambia, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. And we are very much inspired of your leadership as a Gambian delegation. And of course, thank you very much for the brilliant presentation for the year or the months under review from January to October 2023. And thank you very much. And my question is, what could the IPU do with regards to the committees like the Governing Council, where some of the member states could not sponsor or support delegates to attend some of the meetings that the Governing Council will be doing in some of the countries because of the financial status? Thank you.
One of the, not just the requests, but one of the presupposts that we have in our organization is that when a delegation presents a name to a special position in the Governing Council, Executive Committee, Bureau of different committees and so on, they will have the support of their parliament to may attend and participate in the meetings of this position. And when we understood, when we understand that it is not the case, the Secretary General usually contact directly the Parliament, remember it. When we know exactly what happened, I will give the floor to the Secretary General to confirm that we try through the Secretariat contact directly the Parliament, the Speaker, expressing our worry and asking them to assume the compromise, because this is, otherwise IPU will not work without the presence of the people elected to the different positions of our organization. Martin, if you wish.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think that's the answer that
the Gambian delegate expected, we are very anxious to make sure that office holders in the IPU are able to attend meetings of their various bodies. And I confirm that I do reach out to the speakers of those parliaments that have not included office holders in their delegations to remind them that it is an obligation for them to do that. And fortunately, in most cases, we do succeed to get those office holders in those delegations, and they're able to participate in these meetings. In some cases, it's much more problematic, but we handle those on a case-by-case basis. So if the Gambian delegate is experiencing any particular difficulties being included in the delegation of Gambia to the IPU, then they should let us know, and we will see what appropriate action can be taken with the Gambian authorities. I hope that this clarifies the matter for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General. I'm trying to see if someone wishes to add any kind of comments. Sometimes I forget to look up, but there are people there as well. Egypt, sorry, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It goes without saying that the past 6 months have been really busy. However, I do think that the IPU has not exerted its utmost efforts to bring cultures closer together, to promote the respect of various beliefs and religions, and enhance the respect of all background, affiliations, and principles upon which countries are built. I think this needs further work, further efforts in the upcoming period. This could be an opportunity for the upcoming president to deal with this issue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Dear colleagues, from Egypt, we should work always to create the atmosphere of tolerance and respect between all of us. We are in a very small world, a world that a small virus in just few weeks spread around all countries from north and south, rich and poor, from Asia to Latin America, and killing thousands of people. It shows how small is our world. And our home, we should work together and try to avoid any kind of behaviors that can divide us, but on the contrary, that can unite us to solve the problems of humankind and to create a better future. This is also the role of IPU. Okay, now I don't see any kind of more comments. Thank you. We can go to the point 6, financial results for 22. I will give the floor to the Secretary General to present the financial results. You remember, it was not approved in Bahrain because the Assembly of Bahrain was a little bit earlier than usual, and because of that, the external auditor did not finish the report on time. And it is impossible to approve the accounts with the report of our auditor. And this is the question, the problem why we didn't approve it in Bahrain, but now we are ready to approve it here in Angola. Mr. Secretary General, you have the floor, please.
Mr. President, we have members of the Subcommittee on Finance, the chair of the Subcommittee on Finance, who has been entrusted with the task of presenting a report on the proceedings of the Executive Committee on this matter, financial matters, and we also have the internal auditor who you may want to call to comment on the accounts before you take a decision on the financial administration of the organization.
Thank you, Secretary General. So I will give the floor to Mrs. Eriksson, the President of Subcommittee on Finance, to present the report, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and dear colleagues. As Chair of the Subcommittee on Finance, I'm pleased to present to you on behalf of the Executive Committee, which met as usual to discuss the financial questions ahead of the Governing Council session. The Executive Committee has carefully examined the financial statement for 2022 and the External Auditor's report. And you will remember that the first assembly this year took place unusually early in March, and there was not sufficient time to complete the external audit. The Governing Council therefore decided to approve the 2022 accounts at its second session here in Luanda. The external audit was carried out once again by the Controller and Auditor General of India, who issued a positive audit opinion and confirmed the accuracy of the financial statements. The IPU's internal auditor, Andris Grifoy, the IPU Secretary General, and myself had a meeting with the external auditor to formally discuss the report. The audit went well, and there was only one minor recommendation arising. We took note of two particular aspects of the 2022 accounts that I would like to highlight to you. The first was that the investment market performance led to unrealized losses of 774,000 Schweizer francs that reduced the IPU's net assets for the year. You will recall that the global markets had their worst results in more than a decade, following the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, interest rates rises, and global inflationary pressures. Fortunately, the market situation has stabilized this year, and the IPU's long-term investment returns remain positive and on target. But we also took note that the situation of arrears of member contribution has been increasing steadily over recent years. One main reason for this is the situation of the Parliament of Venezuela, whose arrears rise every year by around 100,000 Schweizer francs and now stand at 626,000. But there are other cases across all regions on which the Secretariat is in regular contact. And we request all of you to work through your geopolitical groups to try to reduce the list of members in arrears. I can, however, confirm that the IPU has made a provision for all the long outstanding debts in case the Governing Council decides to suspend the IPU membership rights and of any member parliaments and write off the contribution on arrears. But based on our work, the Executive Committee is pleased to recommend that the Governing Council approves the Secretary General's financial administration and the financial results for 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, of course, now I will give the floor to the internal auditor, but before, a word of gratitude to Madam Chair and to all the groups, to all members of the Subcommittee on Finance representing all geopolitical groups. Your work is essential to have a good governance of the House as well. So, thank you for your work. Our internal auditor, Andres, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, dear colleagues. Based on the mandate entrusted to me as an internal auditor of the Inter-Parliamentary Union appointed at the 28th session of the Governing Council in Madrid, I present my opinion on the IPU's financial report and audited financial statements for the year ended 31 December 2022. I have examined the documents presented, including the opinion of the external auditor, and have been provided with explanations by the Secretary General and his staff, where I want to thank for. Following my review, I wish to draw attention to the following matters. I take note that the external auditor expressed a positive, unqualified audit opinion that the financial statements for 2022 present fairly the financial position of the IPU and its closed pension fund as at 31 December 2022 and its financial performance and cash flows for the year in accordance with the international public sector accounting standards. The external auditor's report confirms the accuracy and the quality of the financial statements. He has made just one recommendation, that the IPU consider expanding the scope of its accounting software as part of the digital transformation of the organization. The IPU management has accepted this recommendation and is currently in the process of upgrading the application. The external auditor also reviewed the status of implementation by the IPU of previous audit recommendations and observed that the remaining recommendations of the previous audit were all completed or under implementation. An independent actual appraisal of the closed IPU pension fund was carried out in conformity with the IPSAS requirements and was accepted by the external auditor. During 2022, the net assets of the IPU decreased due to the unrealized losses of 740,000 Swiss francs in the value of mutual fund investments as global investment markets experienced their worst performance for many years. However, the IPU's long-term investment returns still remain positive and the mutual fund value stabilized in 2023. I noted that the arrears of the IPU members' assessed contribution reaches 2.1 million Swiss francs at the end of 2022. When I was the IPU's internal auditor for the 2020 financial year, the total amount of arrears stood at 1.7 million Swiss francs. Although most of the increase arises from a few individual cases during a very challenging economic period, I encourage the IPU governing bodies to call on members to reduce any outstanding arrears. The internal auditor's report is normally presented to you at the first assembly of the year. But this was not possible due to the early date of the assembly in Manama. If there are other situations in the future where the audit work cannot be completed in time for the first assembly by the year, I recommended that the financial statements be circulated to the IPU members as soon as they have been audited and finalized, but no later than the 30th June. So without the need to wait until the second assembly for review. In conclusion, in my opinion, the financial statements presented by the IPU give an accurate reflection of the IPU's financial position at the 31 December of 2022 and the financial performance during 2022 and comply with the highest available set of accounting standards. The financial management of the IPU has a strong foundation based on internal controls and its financial position is healthy. Accordingly, the internal auditor recommends that the Governing Council approve the financial administration of the Inter-Parliamentary Union and the final results for 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Andres, also for the work that you know very well, because it is not the first time as internal auditor, so you know the House as well as me and my Secretary General, I believe. So it's a moment to open. Secretary General, you wish to complement before I open the floor to any kind of comments from your.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I wish to thank the chair of the Subcommittee on Finance acting on behalf of the Executive Committee that oversees the financial administration of the organization. Let me also record our thanks to the internal auditor who has committed of his time to review the financial documentation and issue an opinion. I'm glad that both have indicated that the financial administration of the organization is positive and clear, and they have expressed an unreserved opinion for the adoption of the proposal to authorize, or rather, the approval of the financial administration of the Secretary General. Let me just add, Mr. President, that a number of issues were raised by both speakers, and one of them was the magnitude of unpaid contributions. Yes, this is an issue that is age-old, and we have done our level best, me and my colleagues, but you also, Mr. President, to reach out to those parliaments that are in considerable areas of contribution to the budget of the organization. I must say that we are heartened and I'm pleased to report this morning that since the accounts were examined in the Executive Committee, 2 members of the IPU have now paid up their assessed contributions, their arrears, and that is Sao Tome and Principe. I wish to thank them, as well as Guinea-Bissau. Both have now paid up, and so this brings down the amount of unpaid contributions. As the internal auditor has pointed out, when he was in his previous incarnation as internal auditor, the amount of outstanding contributions was 1.7 million, and today is 2.1 million. He has further pointed out that it is a few culprits that are responsible for this situation. I just want to mention that one of those culprits is Venezuela, that is owing a total of some 630,000 Swiss francs to the budget, and this is on account of the special situation of instability that the Parliament finds itself in. You know, Venezuela has not been participating in the IPU for some months now, for some years now, because there is a decision of the governing bodies to not recognize the 2 competing parliaments in that country. Hopefully, in the coming weeks and months, the situation will improve, clarity will be brought into it, and you can be sure that one of the issues that we would be putting on the table for discussion with the authorities of that country is the issue of assessed contributions, arrears in payment of the assessed contributions. So, Mr. President, we have, there is a document that has been circulated to all members to give you an idea of where we are with the financial situation of the organization. We conclude that the situation is not disastrous, that most countries are paying their contributions to the budget of the organization, but there is an extra effort that we have to make to ensure that all countries honor their obligation, financial obligations to the organization, the IPU. So, Mr. President, I wish once again to thank the 2 speakers who have taken the floor before me, and I wish to commit again that we will continue to be prudential in the management of the resources that you make available to the organization so that you can always get value for money. We will do our best to be very good managers, and whenever we have any challenges, we will do our level best to correct them or address them to the benefit of all the membership of the organization. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. So now I will open the floor. I said it last in Bahrain, when we are approving also a proposal from Subcommittee on Finance about resources, or in Rwanda. I don't remember if it was in Rwanda or in Bahrain, but I will repeat, only a very exigent and prudent management of the resources allow IPU working the last 10 years with the same revenues. For 10 years, it was no one increased the contribution to the IPU, so the budget from the side of revenues was the same, but we had more and more activities. It just happened with a very prudent management of the resources, and with success. But now you have the floor. Any kind of questions to the internal auditor, to the president of subcommittee on finance, to the secretary general? Benin. Yes, please, you have the floor, sir.
Monsieur le Président,
President, I would like firstly to congratulate you and congratulate the administration, and particularly the Secretary General of our Inter-Parliamentary Union. The financial results that we've heard about are undoubtedly positive. That's something with which I can agree. I would like to ask one question. In institutional terms, how does the internal auditor ensure their independence? How do we ensure the independence of the internal auditor? I don't know whether my question has been understood. Thank you, President.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, cher collègue.
Thank you very much, colleague. I will give the floor to the Secretary General.
Thank you very much, Honourable Delegate. I appreciate the kind words that you have said about our financial administration. Let me say that when it comes to auditing the accounts and financial administration of the organization, we have two levels of auditing. We have the external auditors who are fully independent of the organization. They have no organizational or organic links with the IPU. They are generally coming from the Auditors General offices around the world. Currently, the external audit is performed by the Indian Controller General's office, which is very independent of the IPU. So you have that level of auditing that is done, but then you have the second level that is conducted by the internal auditor, who is a member of parliament from a member, or rather members of parliament, because normally there are two internal auditors. They are also operating at arm's length of the administration. They receive the financial documents. They also receive the report of the external auditor, as has been presented to you this morning. So you have those two levels of accountability auditing that are in place to make sure that the accounts are properly managed and value for money is obtained. I believe maybe there is conflict of interest here, but I do believe that there's full independence when it comes to the work that the external and the internal auditors do. So I don't know if that has answered your question, Honourable Member from Benin.
Très bien.
Thank you very much. I've taken note of that answer. Thank you very much.
And also, it was a very pertinent question, because all of us, we will be much happier if everyone can trust on our accounts and in our colleagues that are with the job to prepare it and to audit as well. Thank you for your question. No other. So, may I consider that the Governing Council approved the accounts for 22? No opposition? It is approved. The point 7 is about financial situation. It is not one account, it's just one information about the financial situation of IPU. And so I will give the floor to the Chair of Subcommittee on Finance. Please, Ms. Eriksson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And yes, I will also give a statement on the financial situation, because the Subcommittee on Finance and the Executive Committee also reviewed the financial situation of the IPU at the 31st of July this year. The organization's budget performance is on track for the year so far, and the organization's finances are currently healthy and stable. Although global investment markets had a very difficult period last year, the returns have begun to recover during the first half of 2023, and the current situation of voluntary funding is also healthy for the remainder of this year. The document you have before you summarizes the financial situation, and I'm pleased to be able to report that some arrears of contributions are continuing to be paid at this moment, and of course all members will be keen to exercise their full voting and participation rights during this important week for the IPU. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Secretary General, you wish to add something? Otherwise we will, no, okay. So I will ask about the financial situation of IPU. We received the information that the situation it's good.
Excellency Chair, I'm from Bangladesh.
Okay, I'm trying to, I don't see Bangladesh, but
yes,
I believe,
but
yes.
In front of you there is a camera, so.
Yes, no, please.
Thank you very much. As because I am the member of the Public Accounts Committee of the Bangladesh Parliament, and the chairman of the Estimate Committee of the Parliament also. So this is why, the audit report, whether it is external or internal, if there is an internal system, so internally the financial affairs of the concern can be judged, but it is not enough because the transparency is the question. But the external audit is very important, and the audit objections, when the audit objection raised, so this can be disposed of in the parliamentary process by the Committee of Public Accounts Committee. So I think the IPU has one of the best organizations in the globe that they're maintaining very transparent account, the financial statements that you explained earlier. So because of that, I think all these are done by IPU in respect to spending and earning the money, as because this is not a trading organization. It's a very much important organization who ensure and strengthen the democratic exercise of the world in the parliamentary process. So I thank you, the Chair and the Secretary General. You are very efficiently conducting all these issues in your committee. So because of that, I on behalf of Bangladesh, thanking you all.
Thank you, dear colleague, for your comments and compliments. It will go directly to the Secretariat and to the Subcommittee on Finance. They did the best to achieve it. No other comments? Gambia. Gambia, yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. With regards to the financial statement or the financial issue of the IPU, I asked, was there any event with the Governing Council that the financial situation was ever reviewed for the year under review by the Governing Council before the presentation to the IPU Governing Council? Thank you.
May you explain, please? We are trying to understand the question. Madame, s'il vous plaît.
I have issues with the mic. Okay, thank you. My question is, with regards to the financial issue or the financial statement that the auditor is trying to explain in detail. I ask, was there any event? I am a member of the Finance and Public Accounts Committee of my country in the Parliament. What I'm asking is, was there any event that the Governing Council review the financial statement before presenting it to the Governing Council now? Was there any situation where the consideration was also done to review, to scrutinize more, and then present to the Governing Council now for consideration? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I will give the floor to Iraq. Iraq, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As a matter of fact, for the sake of more transparency and for the sake of more scrutiny in expenditures and everything that relates to public accounting, I suggest having a side event or a side meeting on the margin of the General Assembly in a special room, for example, to be attended by those who are specialists within our parliaments or our parliamentary committees to discuss the expenditures mechanisms and the ways through which these expenditures are managed. Perhaps we can have a session dedicated to such financial matters pertaining to revenues and expenditures, and perhaps this can be a modality to achieve more transparency in expenditures and also to increase trust and confidence in the reports that we are hearing here. And perhaps we can invite specialists or experts from our parliaments to take part in such sittings and provide their unqualified and objective opinions on such matters. Thank you.
Thank you. I try to see if we have other questions, and after it will, Secretary General will try to answer the questions. I don't identify now no one. So before, I believe that the confidence is assured by both auditors. Of course, we trust in our colleagues, we trust in Secretariat, but then to have the report of the external auditor, always completely independent, from different countries, national auditors from different countries. It was Swiss, it was Sweden, now it's India, and we are trying to identify for the next future. So this way to express that one national audit court is able to work with IPU and to express to present a report about our accounts can give all the confidence to all of us. But we take good note of that. Maybe we can try to do it to experts. Secretary General.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the keenness of members of the Council to promote transparency and accountability in our accounting, and those comments have been taken good note of. But let me just clarify the process. According to the statutory framework of the organization, it is your executive committee that oversees the financial administration of the organization. They are the people who are representative of the entire organization, and all geopolitical groups are represented. They carry out oversight of the finances of the organization, including reviewing draft budgets and making recommendations to the Governing Council. They also would then review the financial results, and then on the basis of that make proposals to the Governing Council. They do that on the basis of specialized assessments carried out by, as Mr. President has pointed out, independent external auditors of the organization, professional auditors whose credentials are unimpeachable. You, the Governing Council, are the body that approves the external auditors, the nomination of the external auditors. So you have a decision to make in that regard. And then you have your own internal auditors to cross-check that the information that is being provided to the entire membership is accurate, and that is what Andres Griffoy was doing here. We have within the executive committee a subcommittee that has been specifically appointed to oversee financial matters, and that committee is chaired by your colleague, Mrs. Erickson, who has presented the report. So there are different levels of transparency and accountability that are in place. Of course, we can always improve upon the methodology. I do understand that all these financial reports have been made available to members of council, including through our website, a dedicated website for all this documentation to be made available to you. So it is on the basis of this documentation that the auditors are making, and the chair of the subcommittee are making a recommendation, as they are mandated to do, to Council to sanction the financial administration of the Secretary General. If you do think that there are any doubts regarding the veracity of the assessment, you feel free to put those questions to the Subcommittee on Finance, to the external and the internal auditors, and they will be pleased to provide clarification. And if they don't provide clarification, then maybe what the Iraqi delegate is proposing, that a special body be set up to scrutinize the accounts, in addition to what the Executive Committee is already doing. So, Mr. President, as I say, for the time being, I am confident. Again, I am, it seems like I'm judge and party, but I'm confident that the controls are there, internal and external, to make sure that the accounts that are presented to you reflect accurately the reality and that there are no distortions. I think the internal auditor did say that in previous years there had been recommendations for the improvement of the accounting system of the organization, and that has been implemented by management. This year they have recommended that we expand the scope of our accounting software, which we have accepted, and we will be reporting next year to you on what we have done to implement that recommendation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Secretary General, for the answers given to the floor. So I will just express that it's good to know that the organization has a financial situation stable. So, good news. Second, we needed to ask to all shares of the geopolitical groups, please, you have the list and you know the countries that are not, that did not pay the fees to the IPU. Help us with the members of your geopolitical group to have the payment on time. Also, it is relevant to each geopolitical group, because you know that after some time they will lose the right to vote. So, geopolitical group became weak and weak if members of its geopolitical group did not pay the contributions to the IPU. So, help us, and you will have the return. You will be stronger in IPU. And this way, and of course, we needed to express, I believe that the Governing Council will express the gratitude to all the donors that help IPU to do more and more. And so, it is the information we have to share with you. Now, we can go to the point 8, where we will approve the budget for 24. And I will give the floor again to the chair of the Subcommittee on Finance, Mrs. Eriksson, to present the budget for 2024. Mrs. Eriksson, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, and the Executive Committee has also discussed the IPU's draft budget for 2024, and we have reviewed the budget document in detail, which is projected at a total of 17.7 million Schweizer francs in income and expenditure. Key points to note are that the work of the IPU will continue right across the 5 objectives that are set out in the 2022 to 26 strategy, with added attention in a couple of specific areas, namely that the IPU will maintain its momentum on climate action from this year, and it will also give a particular focus to its peace work, given the multiple crises and conflicts currently ongoing and emerging. At the same time, the organization will continue to invest in its digital transformation to enhance impact as well as its delivery for members. In terms of income, the core budget includes an increase of 3% in total assessed contributions, as agreed previously by the Governing Council, in order to rebalance total contributions by the end of the current strategy period back to their level in 2010. At the same time, voluntary income is initially projected to decrease slightly due to the expiry of some large multi-year grants. New grants are likely to be mobilized, but the contracts and agreements are not yet negotiated and in place. So a prudent approach has been taken in preparing this budget. And also, if I can encourage all members to help with the mobilization of voluntary funds for the IPU from within your countries and geopolitical groups. And by this, the Executive Committee therefore endorses the budget and is pleased to recommend it to the Governing Council for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the preparation of the budget for 2024 with more activities in IPU. This is always what we wish, to do better and more. And so I will give the floor to the Secretary General.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I just wish to take note of the comments that have been made by the Chair of the Subcommittee on Finance in presenting the budget to you. This budget, I must acknowledge, is the result of the agreements that have been secured within the Governing Council. You remember that you have previously agreed to a 3% increase in assessed contributions. And as the President has just said a moment ago, the IPU's mandate and scope of activities is expanding, and it was high time you agreed to an increase in assessed contributions so as to expand the resource base of the organization. So we are really appreciative of that support. We also draw your attention to the level of voluntary funding, that is money that is paid in addition to your assessed contributions by donors and other partners out there. Next year, we envision a slight decrease in external funding, and this is because many of the current agreements on funding are expiring next year, and we are yet to firm up decisions or agreements for extension of those grants. And so, as we have done in previous years, we want to be very prudent in our assessment. We have for next year voluntary contributions contributing to the budget of the organization to the tune of 23%, down from, I believe, 26.7% last year. I just want to point out again that this is a healthy mix. It continues to be a healthy mix between members' assessed contributions and external support to the organization. It is this mix that continues to secure the independence of the organization when it comes to implementing its activities without having to be beholden to any particular donor or group of donors. So I just want to promise members of Council that if you adopt this budget, we'll continue to implement the activities in a prudent and efficient and ever more efficient fashion so that you always obtain value for money that you invest in your organization. Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General. Also for the way, very prudent but effective, how you do the management of our budget. This way we can do as much as possible and to keep the stability, financial stability of the organization. I will ask if someone wishes to present questions. I don't identify, so I can assume that we may approve the budget for 24. No opposition, no abstention. It is approved. Before I go to the next point, allow me to say that our colleague, Mrs. Eriksson, is finished her mandate as chair of subcommittee on finance. It was a pleasure to work with you. Your personality, your commitment with the organization, with the financial issues, very, very intensive. And thank you for everything you have done and you gave to the organization. And we'll finish on the same moment. So next time, I hope that we will be members of our delegation and we'll keep together in IPU. Thank you so much for everything, Madam. This way, we will go to the point 10. Okay. At least we will try to have the 10A. I don't know if you have time to do all them, but at least 10A we will try, because at 11 we should begin our assembly. And so this is about the situation of IPU membership. The priority of our organization is to achieve the complete universality. Again, we just wish to have, and the compromise is all the states, parliaments of the states recognized by United Nations. If there are other states, assumed states, but that if they are not recognized by United Nations, they will not be a counterpart to the IPU, and we are working with everyone. Mr. Secretary General, do you want to say something about it?
No, Mr. President, I think that under this item, I salute the efforts that have been made to woo more members into the IPU fold. And in this particular regard, I want to pay tribute to our colleagues of the the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, who have been very robust in their support for the IPU's endeavors to bring in new members. And Mr. President, you and your colleagues, when you met in the executive committee, you had before you a request for membership of this organization presented by the Parliament of the Bahamas. You had before you a resolution adopted unanimously by the Parliament of the Bahamas to join the organization. You had before you certification from the relevant financial authorities of the Bahamas to make available the financial resources that come with membership of this organization. You did examine all these documents and information, and Mr. President, your recommendation to Council is to admit the Bahamas as the 180th member of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. I do understand that there's a delegation of the Bahamas present here in Luanda. So, Mr. President, you may wish to consult your colleagues of the Governing Council on the recommendation of the Executive Committee, and I hope that the decision of the Governing Council will be a positive one. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General. We will continue our efforts. We just finished when we left all countries inside the organization, and we should go ahead with that. If we go to the point, no questions on 10A? No. So we can go to the point 10B. Consideration of requests relating to the IPU membership and observer status. We are trying to go ahead with more members from the Caribbean and the Pacific. As the Secretary General expressed our gratitude to the Commonwealth Association, Parliamentary Association, for the efforts to join efforts with IPU to achieve it. I believe that maybe in Geneva we will continue to increase. It is a good news. And now the Executive Committee approved and sent some recommendations to the Governing Council that we should accept. So the first one is to accept the suggestion to have Bahamas as a full member of IPU. I will ask if someone is against this proposal. No. May we accept Bahamas by acclamation, please?
Bye.
I'm looking for the representative of the Bahamas. Ah, okay. So you can go, if you may use the podium, please. It's a pleasure. Welcome to our family of global parliamentarians. Our newest member in IPU. Glover Hall, you have the floor, please.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, Governing Council, executive members, distinguished parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to stand here today to speak on behalf of the Government of the Bahamas as the newest member of the IPU, number 180. On the 24th of July, the Parliament of the Bahamas debated and passed a resolution with universal support to join the IPU. Fittingly, that same week, we passed our Parliamentary Services Act to create a more independent parliament. Today, we are here to make our membership to the IPU official. We're fully committed to the development of an effective, representative, and accountable parliament, so it was seen as a natural fit for the Bahamas to join the IPU. We share many of the same goals and objectives, not least of which is a commitment to promoting and advancing global peace, democracy, human rights, and sustainable development. We are proud to now be a part of this international community, which truly represents the interests of governments and nations around the world. Through the IPU, even the smallest nations have a voice and a platform to speak up and make a difference. This particularly matters for small island developing states like the Bahamas that are currently grappling with an emerging climate reality that threatens our very existence. The IPU's policy focus on climate change is needed and should be applauded. The government of the Bahamas has called for steps towards climate justice and greater access to climate finance for all nations, especially the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change. We look forward to working with the IPU community to continue to advocate and drive change so that all nations can invest in a more climate resilient and sustainable future, beginning with calls for a robust, well-funded loss and damage fund. The Bahamas is also keen to join the conversation on more representative parliaments. We all want to see more women and youth in elected and leadership positions because we all believe that diversity is an asset that makes any team stronger. It is past time for this reality to be reflected in our parliaments. The only way we will meet the big challenges of our time is through unity and partnership between nations. IPU represents a powerful avenue through which we can connect, exchange ideas and best practices, develop policies, and advance our shared agenda to make the world a better place, beginning with our parliaments. Before us, we have the need for greater global compliance with the Paris Accords. We have barriers to universal progress towards sustainable development goals, and we have the unique challenges faced by each member country. I believe that the work done by the IPU can make a difference in addressing these and many other realities. The government of the Bahamas looks forward to being an actively contributing member to the IPU and the important work that it does. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Minister, and we hope a fruitful cooperation between your Parliament and IPU, and this way we will continue our efforts to empower democracy and the parliaments around the world. Dear colleagues, so the Executive Committee analyzed other requests, and the conclusions was this way. It decided to endorse the request for associated membership status from the Mercosur Parliament, which was previously a permanent observer. Also, following on from a review of the IPU observers, the Executive Committee decided to maintain permanent observers with the Nordic Council, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Community of Portuguese-speaking countries, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Economic Cooperation Organization, the Parliamentary Confederation of Americas, and the Organization of American States. As for the African Union, which was also considered inactive in the review observers, the Executive Committee decided to defer its decisions to allow the Secretary-General the opportunity to meet with the chairperson of the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa, which he hopes to do by the end of this month. About the question of observers. The Executive Committee decided about the request of the International Parliamentary Congress and the Permanent Conference of Political Parties of Latin America and the Caribbean to endorse the Secretary-General to make efforts and engagement with the two organizations with a view to establish initial cooperation in support of their request, and then we will come back to the issue maybe next Assembly. Also, we analyzed the request from Qatar for the Executive Committee to reconsider the application of observer status from the Association of Secretary-General of the Arab Parliament. The Executive Committee decided to hold a secret bullet on this question, and the outcome was a recommendation that observer status be granted to the association. May we accept and approve all these recommendations made by the Executive Committee? No opposition, no abstention. Oops. Just I see Belgium.
Yes, thank you. For us, it's a strange situation that an organization of Secretary Generals, which is in fact nothing to do with members of Parliament, to want to be an observer. In our geopolitical group, this would be not possible. So for us, it was very strange to hear, and I know that our members of the ExCom has voted against, and of course we are living in a democracy, but we as geopolitical group 12+ want to vote against.
Okay, so dear friend, we don't know who voted against because it was a secret bullet. First of all, but when we have a secret bullet, it is impossible to someone express, I know that country A, B, or C voted in favor or voting against because it was a secret bullet. But, okay, with this reservation from the Belgium, better, the share of the 12+, may we consider approve the recommendations given by the Executive Committee? It's done. And now we will go to the point 10C, but Secretary General. 10C, maybe it's better, it's a long, it's more extensive. Okay, it's more extensive, and so because it's 3 minutes to 11, we will make a small break. We need to change also the podium to the Madam Speaker of Angola take her place, And so we will begin in 5 minutes the session of the General Assembly. And tomorrow, it's tomorrow, yes, at 11, I am so, tomorrow at 11, we came back to the special segment of the Governing Council, and we will begin with 10C. Thank you.
Belgium has a point of order, please. Please, point of order.
We close the session, please.
Yeah, but I don't think that you have understood very well our question. We want to vote on the topic of the Secretary General of Arabic Group to be as an observer.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I did understood that.
Yeah. So it was not only a remark from the third press group, but we also want to vote.
Okay. So, I will ask first of all if you have a quorum. Yes. Secretary General, it's important because otherwise all the decisions we took before also we have problems with that. Can we confirm, Secretary General?
Yes, Mr. President, I was going to announce the quorum before this sitting rose, and this is in accordance with Rule 34.2 of the Governing Council. For each session, the quorum shall be established on the basis of the number of council members effectively participating in the first meeting. The quorum shall be announced by the Secretary General at a time. So I have been able to ascertain that at the beginning of this session, council session, the members of the Governing Council presented here were 162. And the quorum is 82. So we do have a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay. This is the best. So, so that we should did it before to ensure that we are with quorum, but thank God we have quorum. Otherwise, we needed to come back to the point first because we approved a lot of decisions, also the budget, and now we can be safe that all the decisions were made in accordance with our rules. We have a request to separate, maybe we can do this way. All the other recommendations are accepted, no opposition, it's done. So we have just a request for one specific request and recommendation from the Executive Committee. I will ask our Secretary General how we may do it.
Thank you, Mr. President. I refer to Rule 29 of the Governing Council rules, which stipulates that the Governing Council shall normally vote by show of hands or by standing vote. However, if the President deems it necessary or a member of the Governing Council so requests, a roll call vote may be taken. So it's up to you now to agree what modality you want to apply.
I try to have a modality that can be so more easy, not to take a lot of time, because otherwise we can delay the assembly. So I'm trying to think what can be easily to do. Show hands, I think.
Except somebody requested.
If no one requests, good idea. If no one requests a secret bullet, and I don't see no one request a secret bullet, we can vote by showing hands. Please, if necessary, I will ask the Secretariat, not just in this area, but also in that one. So, everyone is prepared. I will ask who votes against this proposal. It's okay? No, I'm saying it's okay. Please keep your hands, otherwise the Secretariat may commit a mistake. It's better to avoid this kind of situations.
Chairperson, if you could just look up, you will see that there are delegates who are sitting up here.
Yes, yes. Now we are counting with them. Okay. We are counting with you, sir, madam.
Thank you.
Okay. Abstentions? You can. You can. The exercise was too long, so abstentions.
For the proposal.
Okay. It's okay. Abstentions. Now, in favor of the proposal and the recommendation of the Executive Committee, who vote in favor? Okay. So the result of the vote was 2 abstentions, 10 in favor, and 22 against. So you have a majority against the recommendation of the Executive Committee. So the request of the admission of this proposal as observer, it is not accepted by the Governing Council. Okay? So now, yes, we may finish this session of the ExCom and of the Governing Council, sorry, and we came back to our assembly next in a few minutes, 10 minutes, not more than that. Thank you.
Recording stopped.